All right, let's get right into it. Most of us think of loneliness as, just a sad feeling, a personal problem you're supposed to handle on your own. But what if that's completely missing the point? We're going to look at the science that's reframing loneliness, not as some simple emotion, but as a genuine public health crisis that has massive consequences for our bodies and our brains.
So here's the big question that changes everything. What if you stopped thinking about loneliness as a weakness or some kind of personality flaw? Instead, let's explore this idea that it's something much, much deeper, something wired into our very biology for an incredibly important reason.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to be really clear on what we're actually talking about here, because the modern way of understanding loneliness, well, it completely changes the game.
Now, this is absolutely critical to understand. Social isolation, that's just an objective fact. It's about the number of people around you. You can be physically isolated and feel totally fine. But loneliness, that's a whole different beast. It's about the quality of your connections. It's that internal nagging feeling that the relationships you have aren't what you need them to be. You can be in the middle of a packed party and feel profoundly lonely. They are not the same thing.
And this is where it all clicks into place. Think about loneliness like you think about hunger or thirst. Hunger isn't a character flaw, right? It's just a biological alarm screaming, hey, you need to find food. Thirst tells you to get water. Well, loneliness is that exact same kind of signal. It's an evolutionary tool that told our ancestors, you're getting separated from the tribe. Reconnect, fast, or you won't make it. It's a drive, not a defect.
So, if it's a biological alarm bell, what happens when that bell just keeps ringing and ringing for weeks, months, or even years? Let's zoom in a bit and see the very real physical toll that chronic loneliness takes on us.
I mean, listen to this quote from the director of the longest study ever done on adult life. Loneliness kills. He's not being dramatic. The science is showing us, loud and clear, that the damage isn't just in our heads, it's deep in our cells.
And the numbers, they're just staggering. Seriously, look at this. If you're chronically lonely, your risk of developing dementia can go up by about 50%. Your risk of a stroke, up 32%. These numbers are right up there with well-known dangers like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This is a massive health crisis, and it's hiding in plain sight.
So how? How does a feeling do all this? Well, when that loneliness alarm is always on, it's like keeping your body in a constant state of fight or flight. It floods you with stress hormones like cortisol. That, in turn, leads to chronic inflammation all over your body, it messes with your immune system, and it can even physically shrink the memory center of your brain. It's this slow, quiet cascade of biological damage.
And let's just focus on dementia for a second. There was this huge analysis, I'm talking data from over 600,000 people, and it found that loneliness, all by itself, separate from depression or being socially isolated, cranks up the risk of developing dementia by a whopping 31%. It's a powerful, independent risk factor.
Okay, so with all this damage happening inside our bodies, you have to step back and ask a bigger question. If this is affecting so many people, is it really just a bunch of individual, personal problems, or is there something bigger going on here?
The traditional way of looking at it is, yeah, it is. It's seen as something wrong with you. Maybe you're too shy, you don't have the right social skills, and that puts all of the weight, all of the burden, on the person who's already suffering.
But there's a new and much more powerful idea taking hold. It suggests the root cause isn't just personal, it's environmental. It's about the social architecture of our lives, the way we've designed our communities, our cities, and our whole society.
And you can see this playing out all around us, right? When we build cities around cars instead of town squares where people can meet, when we move all the time so those neighborhood ties never really get a chance to form. Or think about those huge life shifts, like retirement or losing a partner, that can just instantly cut you off from your social world. We are, in many ways, building environments where loneliness can easily grow.
And if you want a really stark example of this, just look at this data. A study of people in Malaysian nursing homes found that over 95% of them felt lonely or isolated. Now come on, that isn't about 95% of people suddenly developing a personal flaw. That's proof that a specific environment, an institutional setting, can systematically create disconnection on a massive scale.
So, this is the hopeful part. If the problem is partly built into our environment, then the solution has to be too. And that means we need a totally different way of thinking, a complete paradigm shift in how we try to cure this. You can see the shift pretty clearly here. The old model says, let's fix the lonely person, usually with things like therapy. And while therapy is great and important for some, the new model says, hang on, let's also fix the environments that make people lonely in the first place.
The focus moves to reshaping the world around us.
And the really crucial point is that this new approach is all about prevention. It means we stop just being reactive, waiting for people to be in a crisis, and we start being proactive. We start building a society that actually makes it easier for everyone to stay connected from the get-go.
And this isn't just a theory, right? These are real things happening right now. You've got social prescribing, where a doctor can literally give you a prescription to join a walking group or a community garden. You have programs bringing seniors and young people together. These are things that actively rebuild that social fabric from the ground up.
And guess what? It actually works. Research is showing that something as simple as giving people more access to parks and waterfronts, these green and blue spaces, can cut feelings of loneliness by up to 28%. That is a huge, measurable impact from a simple, community-wide strategy.
So where does all of this leave us? Well, it means we have to start taking our social health just as seriously as we take our physical health. They're deeply connected.
And look, this isn't some fringe idea anymore. The World Health Organization has officially put loneliness on the map as a global public health priority. It's right up there with the other major health threats we face.
And if you need one last thing to convince you, let it be this. That same incredible Harvard study found that the quality of your relationships when you're 50 years old is a better predictor of how healthy you'll be at 80 than your cholesterol levels are. Just let that sink in for a second. Our connections aren't just nice to have, they are a literal lifeline.
Which brings us to the final and most important question. We've got to stop just asking, how can one person be less lonely? The real challenge, the collective challenge for all of us, is to ask, how can we intentionally redesign our communities, our cities, and our way of life to make deep, meaningful human connection not just a possibility, but an everyday reality?